Hey there, it's Darren and welcome to the Small Business Big Idea Show. This is the place where you'll find the kind of inspiring, poignant, and thought-provoking interviews you won't find anywhere else. Why? Because I believe that small business owners and entrepreneurs, people just like you and me, have incredible stories to tell. But unfortunately, they often go untold. My goal is to help bring them to light so that we can all learn from each other and get better together. Now, get ready for a great episode. I met with Phillips in his new restaurant, 3 Carrots, and we talked about a bunch of different things, including how he stumbled upon becoming a chef, his transition to owning his own restaurant, as well as some great advice for new small business owners. Enjoy. Ian, thanks so much for being on the show, man. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How long have you wanted to be a chef? Is this something that you've always wanted to do, or is this something that, you came to later in life? How did you decide that you wanted to be a chef?
It's a thing I never thought was really possible. I've worked in restaurants and stuff when I was in college, but I've been vegan for like 23 years now or something stupid. And I worked in restaurants and kitchens in college, and I liked it, but I never saw it as like a career path ever because I was vegan. I didn't mind, working with meat or dairy or eggs, but like at the time, but at the same time, it was like I didn't see that as a viable thing. I wouldn't want to work in a restaurant that served meat for the rest of my life, because it was like the late 90s in Indianapolis. In Indiana, like the concept of an entirely vegan or vegetarian restaurant here was like so foreign, so far away that that never even crossed my mind. And so I went to school. I was a teacher for a couple of years. I worked in social work, and I was going to school to get my PhD in psychology, and I just was sick of it. And I remember talking to my wife, and I was like, I'm sick of this. She's like, why don't you just cook food for people? And I because like between quitting, between like college and this time, like probably 10 years, like every Christmas would be I get like a new knife or I get like cookbooks and
it was calling you even though you weren't looking for it.
Well, it was definitely more than just like a passing interest. It was something that I was like had a lot of fun with, and I was getting relatively good at it. And
people saw it in you maybe even before.
Yeah, like I was just like a good home cook, and so I was like, yeah, I'll try it. And so I started doing some catering. I was like, just put out some feelers to like friends on Facebook and stuff. And I was like, hey, I'm trying to get into cooking for people if you want to do it. And then I got booked for a couple of cooking gigs, and people are like, where's your business card? Why don't you do this? And I'm like, I don't have a business card. And that kind of transformed into selling seitan to restaurants, and then we used
your own packaged product.
And then we started use that money to build our restaurant in City Market, and so it's never been like it's not this thing that I would have ever thought of because it never seemed real that I could actually be doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like the idea of like me being a chef for life when I was 19. If you had told me I'd be running a vegan restaurant, when I was 19.
It seems so far removed.
Yeah, exactly. In Indianapolis, like that seems
So we're sitting here right now in your restaurant, 3 Carrots.
Yeah.
What's the story behind the name?
So the idea is that, like, in one of the first vegan cookbooks ever published, there are all these like kind of ways to turn like animal-based puns into vegetable-based puns, right? Or like it's like instead of saying like, don't count your chickens before they've hatched, you'd say like, don't count your beets before you've harvested them or whatever. And and so my wife and I would always joke around with it, and like one of the funny ones was like instead of saying killing 2 birds with 1 stone, saying peeling 2 carrots with 1 knife. And so like we would just joke around about it, and then once the concept came to me, it was the idea that like when you eat here, you're gonna be peeling 3 carrots with 1 knife. You're gonna be getting like excellent food and excellent service. Right, so you're gonna leave feeling happy because you had great food and a great time. The second one is like we have like pretty substantial healthy options. Like if you want to have a good solid, healthy meal, if you want to get a big salad, like we have that, you know. So, and even the stuff that we have is fried. It's still going to be better. Like fried seitan free is still going to be better than fried chicken, you know. And so it's like we try to have a pretty healthy or pretty healthful menu, you know. So it's like you're going to be happy, you're going to be healthy, and then also too, it's like we try to run our business in a very ethical way. You know, we try to be environmentally sustainable. We try to support local businesses. We, you know, I've done fundraisers for environmental organizations, and so like you can also know that when you come here, like we pay all our employees a living wage. So you know when you come here, like we're also a restaurant that is, you can feel good because you're supporting a company that's doing things the right way.
Now you were a chef before you were a restaurant owner.
Yeah.
When did you make the leap in your mind to go from just being a chef, maybe working for other people, to actually owning your own place?
A lot of it just was happenstance. I mean, so like we had started, I mean, the idea, you know, if you start cooking and you want to start cooking professionally, the goal is to have your own restaurant. You know, like every, you know, like almost every cook out there, every person who wants to go into culinary
the better
field,
you are, the more you want to express it through your own business.
Yeah, and then, you know, and so I had this idea, but then, and so we started doing like working at farmers markets where I just make food and sell it there. We did some farmers markets inside the city market, and I heard that there were some spaces opening up for them. So I reached out to their executive director, and I'm like, hey, we're thinking of opening there. And she's like, that's cool. Like the executive director of the city market is vegetarian. She's like, that's awesome. I want you guys
to have your offering there.
Yeah, to be there. And so, and it was nice. We were able to save up money from that. All the money that we had made selling everything up to that point, we were able to use to build that out, and the rest is kind of history, I guess.
And that location is a little bit more of a kiosk style location. What did you learn from operating there? Because you've been there for a few years before you opened this place. What did that teach you that maybe helped you over here?
I mean, so much. I mean, like, yeah.
It was a good way to dip your foot in.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, like, I have people ask me about the city market all the time. Like, I think it's a wonderful space for like entrepreneurs because like it is a pretty low overhead, like a kind of a low cost entry type thing, where you can, like, if we would have opened up there and it was awful and nobody bought it, I'd have been like out $15,000, which
wouldn't have killed you,
right? But that's like I don't lose my house over it, you know. And so definitely like being there helped like a lot. I mean, just with everything. I mean, there's so many like from like the big details to like staffing and management and how to deal with how to you know, and like how to communicate vision to other people, like how to be able to. I mean, I don't know, like every aspect of it. Honestly.
Everything touch you.
Yeah, I mean, I try to learn from every experience I have, but I mean, just like, you know, I think it's just, especially there, like being prepared and because it is such a small spot, being prepared and working cleanly is necessary there. Because if you're unprepared or if you don't work clean, like it's really hard to do. And so I think for the most part, like as far as like cooking stuff is concerned, like just the idea of like mise en place, right? Making sure that you work efficiently and you have everything in its place, that would really help. And I also think too, it's like at the city market, we don't have a hood. So the only thing we can cook things on is a panini press. And so it really made you think like,
made you more efficient. You had to think about what you were doing.
And creative, you know, like it's kind of fun to put like an artificial limitation on what you can do and be like, okay, given this set of circumstances, how can we do the best thing that we want to do? And that, I think, like being able to kind of forced creativity of it really was, really good.
I would imagine that in order to get to this point, to have this business, you had to overcome a lot of obstacles.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's in your life or in your business. I mean, what were just a couple of the big obstacles that you had to overcome just to be here today?
Especially going from there to here, like over there at the city market, I did everything myself, right? Not myself, I haven't had people help, but like I put up the drywall. You know, it's like I installed the.
You build it, you did it. You put your hands in it, yeah.
And so a hard thing to learn here, or a thing that was frustrating, was when everything was out of my hands, you know, and so like that, for so just like having to deal with like contractors and banks and kind of all this stuff, that was a new experience for me. I mean, there weren't necessarily obstacles, it just was like bumps in the road, I guess.
Learning as you go.
Yeah, I mean, like, because it's like, for the most part, I mean, it's supposed to be hard.
Yeah.
Like,
if it wasn't, everybody would do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there should be you should know what you're doing if you're going to open a restaurant. And I think a problem why a lot of restaurants fail is because people don't know what they're doing. But I think with all this stuff, like, as frustrating as it can be, as many ups and downs as you can have on a day-to-day basis, you're sort of able to like look at things and be like, oh, like, this is awesome what we're doing. It's like, you don't get a whole lot of opportunities to step back and be like I've opened a vegan restaurant in Indianapolis of all places. Like, that's not, like
you accomplished something.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. You feel it. Did you have any role models in your life or chefs you looked up to, whether it's on TV or, a relative that cooked? I mean, did you have any role models, and what role did they play for you?
I mean, my dad was a cook. He wasn't a cook, but he was like a good home chef, and I think like a lot of our food still comes from like the stuff I enjoyed eating as a kid, pretty much, So definitely him, and then like there's some like vegan cookbook authors, Isa Moskowitz, Terry Romero, who wrote some of the best vegan and they wrote a cookbook called The Veganomicon, which I think is like, if you're interested.
I have that book.
Yeah, if you're interested in vegan cooking, you should own it. It's like it's the first cookbook I ever read, like from cover to cover. I actually read it like you would a novel, because I just was like enthralled with like, this is how you do it, right? Because everything up to that point, like you look at vegan or vegetarian cooking, everything up to that point was like, it was kind of like hippy dippy, sort of like, like everything's got to have like sprouted grains, or
right.
like brown rice syrup and stuff, and these got like, they came out of that book like, now like, if you want to make dessert for people, make dessert. It's like, if you want things to be healthy, make it healthy. But and they were like the first vegan authors who were like coming at it from like an aesthetic that I appreciated, where it's like, I don't want to eat granola every meal. I want to have like super rich and filling food. And I think like that, the way they did it, like really heavily influenced a lot of my own personal ways of not like recipes, but just thinking about cooking and thinking about how to do it.
What's your favorite dish to make at home for you and your family?
Oh man, I never cook at home.
You do too much here, huh?
Yeah, I actually have a 7-year-old daughter, and she hates my cooking. She does not like it. I mean, honestly, it's like, and to be honest too, it's like, I mean, yeah, I get home from here, and a lot of times, by the time I get home from work, if everybody's awake, I mean, I'm just happy to have whatever
is in
front of me, And so it's just like
you pour your heart out here. And
yeah, I mean, nothing beats I'll get home and my wife will just make like taco salad or whatever, and right. It's great. And it's not. I mean, for me, because it's like, I don't have the energy right now to get home and cook. But what I do want to have is energy to like get home and be with my family and be with people I care about. And the food at that point is like secondary. It's more about spending time with, But when I do, I mean, we make like, I mean, I do test out a lot of. I
was just going to ask you, how often do you experiment with new ideas, new recipes, new flavors? How often do you do that? Do you do that at home more than here, or do you do it both places?
Yeah, I mean, I always have stuff in my mind. Mm-hmm. We're always thinking of like, what can we do, and always, and then always trying to see. I mean, and it's like the difference between like a home cook and like a restaurant is like, it's not here's something you can make once. For like a home cook, you're like, here's this dinner I made for 4 people.
You have to perfect it, yeah.
Well, not only that, but you have to be like, how can we plate this? And like, how can I communicate?
Presentation.
How can I communicate this to my staff? How can we make certain we make enough of this to have it be, like, how do what are the like logistics of serving it look like and stuff? But my mind's always going, and I take I try to draw a lot of inspiration from a lot of different cuisines. I think that has really informed my the way I cook. or just the way I develop flavors, I guess. And so for me, it's like, what's a way where we can create some some new experience for people.
What do you love the most about owning your own restaurant?
When you bust your ass to make something, because you don't get any moments, right? Like, do you have a kid? Do you have any children?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
Okay, so like when you have a kid, you don't get any seconds to think about. The baby comes out, right? And you're not like,
and it's
oh,
go.
And you're like, man, how crazy is it that we just created a life? Like, you're not thinking about it philosophically, because like now you got a baby that's trying to eat.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got this thing that's crying and needs a nap.
And having a business, you got to feed it too.
Yeah, exactly. And so in a lot of the same ways, it's like you don't get a whole lot of time to sit back and reflect as like how this goes. But at the same time, it's like when I look out here and it's full, and you see like services going smoothly, our servers are running food, everybody's in here happy, and you're like, that's pretty awesome. Like, that's
Feels
really
good.
that's the really like, if that feeling, like, just that feel like you're able to share something, like, I definitely feel like this is my personality. Like, I made this entire aesthetic, the entire restaurant with me, the playlist, like with me in mind, and so just like to have people come in and see, like, we're not a corporate, we're not a chain, we're not like, we're not pretentious, you're just coming in here and people are enjoying it, and then I think like to be able to share that with everybody and be able to see like a full house of people enjoying it in a kitchen that's running smoothly it's just super rewarding for me.
What do you see your business? How do you see your business evolving in the coming years? I mean, do you want another location? Is it just refining this location? Is it offering different things? How do you see it evolving?
I mean, we have some short-term and long-term goals. Obviously, like, short-term goals here would be adding like a dessert program, doing more specials, doing kind of pushing ourselves more, like making ourselves, as we start to get comfortable with what we're doing here, then it's like, okay, how do we make ourselves uncomfortable again? Like, how do we add more to it? How do we expand on what we're doing? So there's a bunch of short-term things that I want to make certain that we get done here. Long-term things, we'll see what opportunities present themselves. But definitely, we're looking at getting our own seitan production facility.
Packaged food.
Because we wholesaled a bunch of different restaurants, and it'd be nice to expand that component of the business. And then also, like, the space where we cook off our seitan, we are pretty much maxed out. Like, we have a hard time making more than what we can now. And so if we're going to open up any other locations, we need to have a place where we could have full-time access to make our product. I mean, we make all of our own proteins. I guess we don't make tofu, but like, we just get a bunch of straight raw ingredients and we make it.
Make your own protein.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't think I give myself enough credit for it, but to be a restaurant is pretty much entirely food that's like literally from like 100% scratch. Is not the easiest thing to do, and that we're able to do that is pretty cool.
Many years from now, when you're retired, many years from now, you got a long way to go, and you're looking back at your body of work, what you've accomplished in your life and in your business. What do you want your legacy to be, or how do you want to be remembered by other people?
I want to be remembered as like good and caring and compassionate and kind and thoughtful, and loving. Like, like that's what at my funeral, like, regardless of whether or not this thing blows up or shuts down, like whatever happens here is like, like I have, I'm a person outside of this, and I want that to be, but it also too, it's like, that's how I want to be thought of here too. Like I tell people who work here, like, I'm not a yeller. I don't yell at people. I'm usually pretty good about being understanding and really, I think, developing a culture here of people who care about each other. And I guess like what I want to do is, like, in my own way, whatever way I can, to help like make the world a little bit better, and try to do things and try to act in a manner that meets my own sense of ethics. It meets my own sense of right and wrong. And that's, and I try to do that. I try to apply that in every aspect of my life, whether or not it's like being a father, being a husband, being a friend, being a boss, being a business owner, being a chef. It's like all the aspects. Just like, what am I doing to hand off a better world to my kids and my kids' kids?
What last thought or insight or idea would you like to share with other entrepreneurs or small business owners who may be listening to this right now?
You gotta know your shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to, you can't half-ass it. You have to know your customers, you have to know your product, you have to know your market, you have to know where you are. It's like, you have to be able to communicate that to people. Like, for me, it's like, as a boss, I know how to do every single aspect of this job, and I do all of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if our dishwasher calls in, I do dishes. Mm-hmm. If we don't have enough servers, I serve. If we need tables to be bussed, I bus tables. And, and it's just, for me, that works because I think, you're able to garner the respect of the people that you have working for you, but also gives you a detailed knowledge. And so when you say, I need this to be done like this, people know because you've done it. People believe that you can do this because you've already been able to demonstrate that you can do it. So I think just knowing everything, every aspect of it, inside and out, as best as you can. And I know I played in DIY punk bands for about 20 years, and every time, every band I was ever in, I never made any money doing anything, right? But I was fortunate. I was able to go on tours, went to Europe and all across the United States and stuff, but I never made any money, right? Because 100% of the money always went back into the band. You put out a demo tape, and then then people would buy it, and you save that money, and you put out a CD, then you save up money from that, and you put out shirts. And then and I just took that same principle and applied it to business. We were making seitan, and I was working catering gigs, working weddings. I never paid myself a dime. But all that, those years of work beforehand laid the groundwork, and that's stuff that nobody sees.
Right.
When you walk into a restaurant, you don't see the amount of planning, the amount of organization, the amount of communication that it takes. So people walk into a restaurant and be like, oh, I could do this. And they try it and they don't realize how much work it is. And I'm certain that the case is true with almost every business. Walk into a shoe store and be like, I could sell shoes. Right. But that's not how it works. You have to have a detailed, intimate knowledge of every aspect of it. And I think just before you get into anything, just make sure you know it inside out and you've done it. You've had a couple things where you've had your concept and been like, this is how I'm going to express my concept. Let's see if anybody's into it. And then at that point in time, you get to, because this stuff doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication, and it's a lot nicer to figure out if you got the chops for it before you take out hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Exactly. Ian, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.